The film, An American Story, Race, Amity, and Other Tradition, explores the moral counterweights to the tradition of racism in America and how we can move together toward our nation's motto, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. This thought-provoking, inspiring, and emotional film from Dr. William Smitty Smith, founding executive director of the National Center for Race Amity at Wheelock College and co-executive producer, senior writer of the film, tells the story of cross-cultural friendships that tackled racism and inequality throughout America's history. To tell us more about the film and the process of making it, we're now joined by Dr. William Smitty Smith. Welcome to Urban Update, Smitty. Great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's always fun when you're here. You've always got something great to talk about.
It's a delight to be here.
And now you've got a film. You're co-executive producer on this film. Tell us a little bit more about it and how it all came about.
Yeah, the film, actually, the idea was seated in my mentor, Dr. Richard Thomas, who advanced this thesis of the other tradition being the moral counterweight to the tradition of racism. This other tradition is found throughout our history. So it seated me with the idea of looking to develop a film that explores the better in us as Americans, the better in us in terms of our history. So that's what the film focuses on.
And sort of without giving too much away, how would you describe the film to people?
Well, the film is a panoramic view, the initial, and it's the first, I should say. We hope to, after the first airing on PBS, we hope to do a series of 6 more films. We've shot a lot of stories. But the idea is to create this understanding that there has always been this moral, powerful counterweight that has caused all of the positive change that we experience in society, and how we need to look at that as a model of how we can proceed with our interactions and deliberations today.
Now we've got a little clip. We'll just take a little sneak piece for a little taste of the film. Let's have a look.
Many stories have been told about America's dark past, of a nation founded on the unshakable premise of racism. Stories of violence, hatred, and injustice, of dominance, enslavement, and marginalization. Stories ending in bitterness and complete segregation. Our history haunts us to this day, giving us the pervasive belief that racial conflict and inequality will forever be a part of the American landscape.
Smitty, what are you hoping that viewers take away from your film?
Well, I'm hoping that viewers can see us and see themselves as Americans in a different light. As I say, I can't overstate it. We're all familiar with the terrible affect of racism and the conditions that it's created. We are less familiar, and we don't celebrate or appreciate or claim as our legacy the better in us of close, loving, cross-racial friendships that have, in fact, made all the advancements that we experience in society today. We explore how permanent change in our society has come about, and at the seat of that permanent change are these incredible cross-racial friendships, going back to pre-revolutionary times and Charles Thompson, the first Secretary of the Continental Congress, and this incredible friendship that he had with T.D. Uskin, the chief of the Delaware Nation, and how that helped us, in fact, the Brits win the Indian Wars, which led to the United States becoming a nation.
And in your view, how does this film sort of connect with the mission of your institute, National Center for Race Amity at Wheelock College?
Well, our purpose at the center is to actually impact the public discourse on race. We see that there is a need to move the discourse on race from what I call the blame, grievance, rejection cycle, which stagnates dialogue on race. And ultimately what happens is dialogues become toxic, and they are not productive to any long-lasting solution, but to look at another perspective in which to approach these dialogues.
When and where is the premiere for the movie?
The premiere is actually going to be on WGBH here in the Northeast on public television April 12th at 9 p.m. And so that's you know, home turf, and that's the first. They'll be the first public station nationally to broadcast the film.
And I want to jump to a completely different subject, something that you and I have talked about in the past. Very quickly, just to kind of wrap things up here, I have to do this very quickly, but the King statue, Dr. Martin Luther King statue, they're talking about a memorial here in Boston.
Yeah,
and you have some views on that.
Yeah, I do have some views on that.
Some strong views on that.
Yeah, some strong views on that.
Very quickly.
Essentially, I say often we cite these wonderful moral heroes, but we don't emulate their action. And I would suggest that consideration for a King statue here in Boston also include near him and in that shadow a statue for Reverend Reeb,
James
Reeb, who was a Bostonian and who literally was a martyr in the civil rights movement, giving his life for a black person who he stood in front of. So what more amplifies?
People know he was a white minister from Boston
who
went down to the civil rights struggle
and got killed
and was murdered by segregationists.
And how wonderful would it be to have him in the fold of Dr. King and the beloved community, and exemplifying the vision of Dr. King, not just have another memorial of the many, many which are wonderful for Dr. King, but let's do a memorial that exemplifies the spirit of what he taught.
Okay, in the meantime, we will look forward to your film, Dr. William Smitty Smith. Thank you for coming in, and, you know, good luck with the film out there.
Okay.
Break a leg.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
RaySamityFilm.org.
Okay,
thank you.
All righty. Well, coming up, a historic reading of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic speech right here in Boston. All the specifics here on Urban Update. Stay with us. We'll be right back.